Hey there, I'm Sharon.
And I'm Umi.
And welcome to the Roundtable.
This is a space dedicated to young women of the Pacific who are trying to figure out life just like we are.
And we are going to ask questions that you've always wanted to ask to a new guest every episode and lift the veil on unspoken topics.
We talk about everything from personal image and relationships to everything in between. Come and join us.
Ale Yumistorian. This project is made possible with the support of the We Rise Coalition and PACMAS. On this episode, we will be discussing the positive impacts of young motherhood.
And we will be exploring the challenges as well as the positive impacts of what it is like being a young mother in Vanuatu and the Pacific.
And we want to be very clear that we are not in any way encouraging young girls to become young mothers. We just want to understand and share the reality here in Vanuatu. And we believe this is very common in Vanuatu as well as in the Pacific. We want to flip the script in this scenario and shine the light on the beauty of this experience.
Being a young mother means you have so many responsibilities, and a big part of that is making sure your child is able to grow in a nurturing and healthy environment. But this can be challenging to achieve as a young girl or a young woman.
And being a young mother in a society where sex is such a taboo topic, when a teen gets pregnant, her family are often ashamed of her because her pregnancy is proof that she had sex. This results in the family turning their backs on her to fend for herself and her child, commonly without support from the father of the child as well.
And we know there are many challenges, and we have heard and talked about the negatives of these kinds of situations, but there is little focus on the positive aspects of being a young mother.
So today we have Rueben. Dawn is from Papua New Guinea. She is currently the program manager for the Global Partnership for Education with the Ministry of Education and Training. She had her first child at the age of 20. Until now, she is looking after 10 children, 6 biological children, as well as 4 others that she is currently taking care of.
So welcome, Dawn. Thank you so much for coming in to join us.
All right, we're just going to get straight into it. So Dawn, first of all, could you tell us the first challenges you faced when you fell pregnant at a young age, and how did you manage to deal with the emotional toll that comes with falling pregnant?
I think that's interesting, like for each of us, given that I'm from Papua New Guinea and we came with our own cultural beliefs and upbringing and values. We were, and also that came with a set of responsibility and expectation as being, I was the eldest in my family, mind you. And I fell pregnant while I was studying in New Zealand. But I think what kept me going was that I saw how my mother was a young mother, and she raised us. She was very young, straight out of senior secondary, and I admired how she grew with us as well, in that she could have conversations with us at that level that we were teenagers. She was still a young mid-20s, mid-30s, and I really admired that, and I wanted that. I mean, the worst thing I had on my head was, I don't want to be old, bending my back over and trying to explain things that are outdated for my children. So I think in general, I had a lot of thought process and thinking about it. I wanted this, even if it meant that, yes, I did accept my parents, especially my mother, saying that, this is not what you had planned for. This is not what we had expected. You going to New Zealand, being the eldest in the family, and I had 6 sisters and 1 sibling brother, half brother. So you can imagine the immense expectation on my shoulder. And I'm grateful that throughout my schooling of senior cycle secondary, I was raised in, I think, 4 years, 4 years boarding, 7 to 10, 2 years senior secondary in Catholic, that, a lot of my Christian beliefs and values were imparted in my life as well. So I was humbled about the process of my family. It's part of the cultural process for us in Melanesia. So I had to go through that, the scolding, the name calling and all of that. But at the end of the day, I also knew that I had my life and my value of me being on this earth was bigger than myself. And there was somebody else bigger, and setting the paths right. And for me, being a young mom at 20, I wanted to be a mom like that. And I saw that from my mother. But I did go through the emotional toll. And it took another level that I was here in Vanuatu when I told my parents that I was expecting.
Oh.
Right.
And I got the scolding through the phone, even though it was a cultural experience being a first year here in Vanuatu after studies. And I can tell you, it was a lot of crying nights by myself, but a lot of nights like, Lord, please, you're going to get me through this, because there is no way I'm getting rid of this baby. You know, there is that ethical but also spiritual part of you, and you know it. It's inside your soul that you know it's something bigger than yourself. It's happening. Being a mom, especially for the first time, it's that most important, critical, life-changing moment for you. And it's so important that going through this emotional toil that you first have to be the one to have that conversations with yourself.
Right.
I had a lot of conversations with myself. And that was supported by my upbringing, my values, and most importantly, my belief. I spent 6 years in Catholic boarding school, and there was like faith beyond my own imagination. And like you said, I raised 10 kids technically, 6 of mine and 4 of my other nieces and nephews, but I find ways to just be, be there to career, guide them, support them, counseling, all those other things. But if one of the other 4 is like sick in the hospital, I would be there. Find a way to just be there. So that didn't come easy. And we can't just, as Melanesian, just cut that process out of being scolded. It's part of the journey. It's part of the journey to be scolded. But I guess to be reminded that it's also important to have that process, thought process, self-reflection, looking at the bigger picture. And I think when you have a supportive system around you that supports you emotionally and say, we're going to be there, because I was in a different country, it does help. Especially when you're a first-time mom at that very early age, when the rest of your peers are out enjoying life and exploring things. Yeah, it did have an emotional toll big time.
Yeah, Dawn, I can really understand where you're coming from. I know it's not like easy being a young mother at the age of 20. I want to know, can you remember what the first year of motherhood was like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I can remember it so vividly. My eldest son is 17. I look at him, his change, physical appearance. I mean, he's got like little baby mustache here, what you call it. But I fell in love with my son because I came from a family line of 6 sisters and 1 half brother. And when I saw my son, I saw my father, I saw my uncle, I saw like all my other families that were not here. And and my mother wasn't here when I had my son. So that was hard, but it was a very humbling experience, given that I was raised in the city. So we had everything done, But I was made to learn and do things on my own, the hard way, to be a mom, but to be there for my son day in, day out. Like if I was back home, it would probably be like, okay, I'll do my son, bathe him, do this, do that. And I probably can sleep for the next couple of hours. Mom can help me take care of, or my aunties can do the laundry. I did everything by myself for the first years, especially the first year. And then you get to see your body change as well. You need to be aware that you need to take care of yourself as well and be conscious of the elderlies around you. They would advise you how to take care of yourself. And there are, like taboo slangs, like every time you have one child, it's like you're letting go of your inner strength and you become, it's like power blew you.
Right.
It's like giving power to a new life kind of thing, something like that. So it's also that thought process. You need to have, it's part of like that growth, personal growth as you as a woman. You know that I'm on this journey and, being a mom. I didn't envision having more than the number I have now, but I'm blessed. So, yeah.
So, what is the biggest challenge you've faced with, say, time management ever since you had your baby? Let's say when you had your first son, what was the biggest challenge with time management in your daily life?
So being a mom, yes, for sure. Like time management is the biggest challenge, yes. And along with time management, I think you need to be fair with yourself too. Taking care of kids day in, day out, it's a full-time job. And there you're raising another human being, another life who's going to be probably another director, another DG, a doctor, a cleaner, a pilot. And you're doing the best you can with the most you have. So with time management, you will, like, the challenging thing has always been for me was, okay, I am a foreigner that I've decided to move here and start and raise my family. I've had to put so many other people before me, even my children being first, and then everybody else had come with their family line. And I often lost track of myself, and to reward myself with time that could value myself, be as a reward for myself, like, oh, maybe I could just have some friends outside of the circle of my children, or just hang out and laugh a little, chill. So like keeping tab of that along your schedule, like time management is such a big topic, but to have a schedule and say, okay, this is my daily routine or my weekly routine. This particular day, this particular time, I'm going to have it with my friends. I'm just going to laugh. I'm just going to chill. Yeah. And that was, I kind of lost track on that over the years, yeah.
Also, what other positive traits that have come out of this experience that have made a positive impact on your life from having a child at an early age?
That question is like paramount. It drives me forward and has driven me forward from day one to now. And the positive experience has been that being a mom, from my eldest son to my youngest, the twins, and I never knew I had the strength and the courage and the passion to even look above and beyond what I had to care for others, and the reward that came with it to be able to help others. And I think it's a personality that, and the attitudes and attributes that you learn to grow with, to develop along the way in the journey. There's things we don't learn in school. These are principles of life that will carry you further than you can ever imagine. Every time I had any one of my children, I felt like I was falling in love over and over and over again. Because the moment I missed any of my family, I would turn around to, say, my youngest, and I would see her grandmother. Or like I have twins who are the youngest, and so I look at my son and I see my father, and I look at my daughter and I see my sister, my youngest sister. So I never knew I was that courageous to be able to, raise all those kids along the way and have the heart, the passion, the drive and the determination, but also I think the certainty to be like, it's okay to make sacrifices. It's okay to have such a bigger heart. It's okay to fight, to teach, and live a good life that's reflective for your children, even though it's not part of the cultural norm, like part of our cultural belief in society that all boys are not supposed to broom and all this stuff. Like I've had to do it in a way where there's diplomacy, because I live with my in-laws. So, right. Like those dynamics, like I've had to learn and develop that along the way. There's so much so that we can learn in school, but principles of life and good for of us in. We only learn through experience. And it's this kind of sharing, this kind of talanoa story and session or same. It's and as women, we are emotional beings. We connect on an emotional level. And it's only when we talk about it and you express it, you can relate on that level. Yeah. And I think I also developed that trait to be able to say, if I can get through this and make it, and there's a greater being before, behind, and within me, you can do it too. Because I remember when I had my fourth son, and while I was studying in Fiji, doing my bachelor's, and I was told by the nurses there that "Are you having twins?" I cried and I'm like, "Oh my God, am I going to complete this double degree course, Lord?" Like the timing is just off. Okay, I get it. I love my children, but the timing is off. But then it was something beyond my control. So I had to go around the campus carrying 6-kilo babies. Like they're both like 3 kilos each. But like looking back now, I was a role model. I get it. The Lord needed to use me to say to other women and mothers that you can do it. You know, we're only a vessel here. We're only here for a limited time, serving a greater purpose. And I see that imparting all this experience to my children, especially, I have 2 daughters and 3 nieces, so I have these conversations about having this dream and vision as women. It's fine. One of my eldest nieces, she finished from Monash, and I mean, like, she's expecting, you know, she's 7 months. And I have this conversation. I'm like, okay, you know, you're gonna give birth. You're gonna have to take 6 months off, take care of your baby. You're gonna have to take care of your body, and you're gonna get back to work. I never knew that I would grow those sort of, I think, the heart, the courage, and the patience to be able to say. Because I was raised by a mother who was like a, oh my God, communist. Like, finish school, no man, finish, get the degree done, you know? So, like, when I sit back again, like, and a lot of times I'm in tears, and I'm like, thank you, Lord, for this journey. Yeah. So it's a journey. It's not always that bad. It just takes a bit of, I think, personal time, reflection, and just looking at how far we've come, the bigger picture, and yeah.
How do you measure your success as a parent, or like, you know, when you were a young mother, how do you measure that success?
So I think there was a scenario, I will give a scenario that one of my children, a couple of my children said, a family member of theirs, in their father's side, they have a stepdaughter. And so we had this conversation like, okay, so he doesn't take care of his children, but he takes care of this child, and he forgets his children. And my children go, oh, but mommy, you know, she's innocent. She's innocent just like our cousins. So we shouldn't, you know. And, you know, I was like, I turned around and I said, oh my God, thank you, Lord.
My child just checked me.
Yeah. Thank you, Lord. I did something right with my children. Like indirectly, they have this compassion and this heart to say, you know, this judgmental thing. It's like we don't see it, but it's all in there. I'm like, oh God, thank you for this journey. Like I'm raising good people. That is my dream. Like the struggles and whatnot, but that is my dream and that is my purpose, to raise good people who are compassionate, loving, forgiving. That they will go to school, learn the same things as everybody else, but they have this extra quality that we, you know, I'm part of that. So I feel like raising all my children through this journey, one of the most rewarding thing as well for me was it kept me grounded and focused. Sometimes I sit around like other sisters and, you know, friends, and they, oh, how do you do it? And I was like, you know what? Like God just knew it. If I had 2 children, I wouldn't be this grounded. I wouldn't be this focused. But he had to put like a lot and say, okay, you're going to have to deal with it this way. I'm going to have to keep you focused. So my kids grounded me from day one until now. And I think 6 wasn't enough, and I had to, you know, help with my nieces and nephews, but that's fine.
Yeah, they're good motivational drivers, aren't they?
Exactly.
And I think they've like they take up like so much of your time and so much of your strength, but like listening from what you have to say, I feel like it's more of like a passion that you do and the love that you give to your kids.
Sharon, I tell you, when you're a young mom and you grow with your children, at some point you are like, okay, can I just have 5 minutes to myself? And they're like, Mommy, can you just keep your voice down? Or you shouldn't say that. Like they check you.
Right.
You know, they check you, which is a good thing, but sometimes it's awkward when you're in different places too, and they're not supposed to say things, yes. But it's really rewarding. Like when you think about lifestyle now, when people are having NCD and whatnot, like you have that certainty to be there for the most important times in their life. You know what I mean? Like you'll be capable and able to say, okay, I can see them off to the secondary school or boarding school. Like I'm really emotional with my sons. Like I have only one half brother. So my sons, like the rest of the family, they laugh at me. They went to Santo last year. to go and plant kava with their relatives. I said, okay, you're going to be 18 next year. You need to start adventuring out and exploring. I'm not from Vanuatu. You guys are man Vanuatu. So I sent them off, and then my son is like, okay, mommy, it's okay. You can just hug us. No, I'm going to go put you walking, and then I'll just hug you. And he's like, Mom. And he's like hovering on top of me. Mommy, it's okay. And I'm like, just let me cry first. Just let me. And just like, and he's like, I'm going to be okay. So they like not only ground you, but they refine you in such a way that you have to be this kind of person where you're able to absorb their emotions, filter some of those emotions, and just be, you know, a mom will always be a son's first love. You got to show them that woman that they need to take care of, and that kind of woman that they want to have in their life. And a daughter's first love will always be her father. And she will always represent that love through her father and always make that reference. And I think having those experiences, and with my sons, it's always been like, it's not that bad, you know. It's going to be okay. And now that they're old enough, we have those conversations, and it's been meaningful. I mean, it's been meaningful being a young mom, raising young teenage kids, and you can have these conversations.
Dawn, I would love to ask you this. How would you describe your peace as being a young mother a few years back from like your peace now? Would you consider a difference in your peace on what being a young mother feels like back then as opposed to how you feel peace now?
Yeah, sure. And that's like, sometimes I laugh at it. My children laugh at it, especially my teenage kids, because when I had my eldest son, I looked at him and I'm just like, okay, so you're not going to have a girlfriend. You're going to be with me. You're going to da-da-da. And I have 4 sons, so trust me, I'm just eyeballing them left, right, and center. And now they're like, the youngest of my son is 7, and the eldest is 17, and the other one's turning 12 this year, and the other one's 10. And they look at me now, and, you know, if anybody comes up with a conversation, and the sister's like, so, Mommy, today Rueben had to go down and talk to this girl, and I just give him this look, and I'm like, and then he just looks at me like, no, so she needed this guidance. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah. You know, I don't have white hair. And he goes, Mommy, I know. And I'm like, yeah, we're just going to stop there. So, you know, like how we have to be able to communicate in a way that it's their vibe, you know, the young vibe.
Yeah.
You can't just be like dictatorship, because I'm fearful. Like I'm not from Vanuatu. I don't want to lose my kids. Like they're the only thing that grounds me, reminds me, and holds me together and keeps me going. So I'm conscious of that day in, day out. And I'm also conscious that they're changing. Like I've even reached out to friends and families, and I'm like, so can you help me to have this SEX conversation with my sons? And they're like, yeah, we can have this conversation with them. So like it keeps you going in that level of thinking. But my perception of raising children back then to now, and the peace that I have, I think it's evolved to that level that there's more understanding, there's more maturity, and it comes with a lot of love. You have to do things with love with children. You have to, even if it's discipline. Like if you are assertive and I said no is no. And when you say no is no, you have to remember, our children have been part of our womb for 9 months. So just hearing the voice, the vibration through the ear, they know it comes with love. Even though the facial expression is off, and they just come and hug you and say, I'm really sorry, Mommy. And I'm like, okay, well, just give me 5 minutes.
Just give me a few minutes to collect myself.
Yes. So that level of peace, if I can compare myself back then when I was a young mom and referencing to my mom, no, I'm totally different. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Dawn. That was honestly, this episode is a bit emotional for me, seeing as I had my daughter when I was 19. I'm a young mother myself, so it's quite inspiring to hear what you have had to say. Our last question here, and I would love to hear this. This could be like a little mantra, honestly. We want to end this episode with 3 positive words that sum up your whole experience as a young mother. 3 words. Take your time.
As a young mom, if there were 3 words that I could, and probably 3 little phrases that you could take away with, it would have to start with, it's okay to be you. You are you. And you have to be you to be able to carry that life into this world. I think the second one would be to be able to be chosen is the vessel to carry this life into this world. You are blessed. You've been divinely chosen for a purpose that's greater than yourself, especially being a young mom. And it's on the journey to shape you to be someone bigger and better. That's probably like my second thought around this whole experience. The third one would be, I think, to remain positive. Always see the good in every part of the journey. What doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. Like, you always have to stick in the positive part. The other parts are just part of the experience to refine you and say, okay, I can learn from this. I'll not do it the next time. You can pick up from that and learn. So it's both. I think if you go back to my first one, you have to stick to being you. You have to be you first. You're not you carrying a box so the child comes into the box. No, you have to be you. Don't ever lose focus of who you are. You have to be you. The second one is, you are blessed. And with that blessing of being the mother comes its reward. And it's going to be along the journey. And I think the third one would be, most importantly, is it's a life-changing experience. So embrace it, but stick to the positive parts that will build you, shape you, mold you, and keep you driving forward. Onward and upward.
Thank you, Dawn. That's beautiful. So there you have it, guys. It's not the end of the world, and I have experienced that firsthand. From what I'm getting from you is that it doesn't matter if you say mess up and have a kid young, it's not the end of the world. Often when you get pregnant at a young age, you get a lot of negative comments. But from what I'm getting from this, you are telling us that it's not over and it only gets better from here.
It's just the beginning. Trust me. It's just the beginning to bigger and better things. I mean, you're living a life for yourself, but, the great and the almighty says, no, you're capable of raising so many more. That means you have the power to make changes that probably some others may have the power to change with only 1 or 2 children, or maybe without any at all. But if you are being divinely chosen to say, you are my vessel, that through you I will raise the next. And like, I think before we close, there's a personal experience raising these young children. I would get this feedback from like the in-laws saying that, oh, there are too many and stuff like that. And they would start differentiating between my nieces and my own children. And I hated that, to a point where I said, look, we have to stop this. Because I didn't plan to have all of this, but I know for sure, like deep down in my soul, that we are raising a pilot, we are raising a doctor, we're raising the next what so and so. But they're not going to achieve it unless we work together and refine how we take care of them, how we groom and nurture them. So it's a whole journey. It's not a pit stop. It's a whole journey. So we need to engage in conversation spaces. And as young mother, I encourage young women mothers to lean on other young women mothers who have made it. Don't think that you're going through this and say, no, I'll stick in my corner. They've paid my bride price. Okay, that's fine. Respect everything, culture and tradition. But you have a life for you, Umi. You have a life for you, Sharon, Dawn. I have a purpose in my own life. And can I just get into that space and just maybe that 5 minutes to just hear and say, oh, did you finish your degree? And say, yes, I did, but I had to take 2 of my children. And it's that moral boost on a human level, on an emotional level. It's not the end of the world, like you said, Umi. So this conversation is to continue.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dawn. All right, to close this up, guys, please check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Sister Vanuatu on Facebook, sister_Vanuatu on Instagram, as well as our website, sister.com.vu.
And also by following our website, you can also listen to more of the Roundtable podcasts that are already on there, including the upcoming episodes. This is Sharon
And I'm Umi.
from the Round Table.
Ale
Ale Lukimyu.